As we slowly close off 2025 and enter 2026, what changes are coming and what do you need to do as a salesperson to improve your sales? Hello and welcome to the Sales Circle podcast, the weekly sales podcast that is designed to help you increase and boost your sales. Whether you are an entrepreneur, business owner, salesperson, whoever you are, this podcast is designed to ensure that you can improve your sales. Whether that be through us discussing tactics, strategies, motivation, mindset, psychologies, training, whether we discuss stories. My intention here is you can listen to this podcast on the way into work, on the way to a client's meeting, on the way home from work. You can use it to send your children to sleep. And in doing so, you will ingest great information that you can take in to your next sales meeting and help you to increase your sales. I'm your host, Rob Spence, an internationally renowned sales trainer, sales author, sales coach, the managing director of Paragon Sales Solutions, and some would say an all-round nice guy. And thank you, as always, for joining us on today's episode of the Sales Circle. We are ploughing through these episodes, and I'm so thankful you are staying tuned or you're listening in. I've made it no secret that at the time of recording, we are literally blitzing these recordings. We are absolutely hammering them because we've got a busy year ahead. I'm going on paternity, or by the time this comes out, would have been on paternity. We've got so much going on and we get so many views, so many fans of this podcast. The last thing I ever wanted to do was get so busy that I couldn't satisfy and that I couldn't deliver the content and the quality of content that you wanted. So at the time of recording, believe it or not, I think it's June the 3rd. So by the time you're listening to this, I think in October, the weather will be getting a tiny bit cooler. We'll be fast approaching what is my favourite season, which is autumn. And the time of recording, the sun's shining. I'll be honest, it's not as warm as what you'd expect for June, but it's still nice all the same. But listen, a big thank you goes to you, the viewer, the listener, wherever you digest this content. You really mean a lot to me. Just do me a quick favor, would you? Please do hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, and of course, don't forget to follow us on social media. Today, we're going to discuss various techniques that you can use to increase and boost your sales, especially as we move into more of a digital age, and especially as 2026 is slowly creeping up in front of us, can you believe? So I'm going to share with you some statistics, some studies, some ideas, some simple things that you can do to just really take your sales to that next level. So without further ado, allow us, if we may, to move on with the episode. Now, if you've been an avid listener, an avid viewer of the podcast, you'll know that I'm a big believer in human-to-human selling. You'll know that I believe in having those human touch points, in having those humanized conversations. And I will always believe in that. I believe that they are very important. I would also be very naive to believe that we are not moving towards a more remote style of selling. You know, I look back at the old days of selling, you know, maybe the selling of my father, his father as well. He wasn't a salesman. But you see what I'm saying. And actually, if you've ever watched the movie The Founder, the story of Ray Kroc and how he formed, you know, the McDonald's franchise, we envisage, you know, these salespeople driving up and down the country in their cars with a map, with a telephone, and that's how they sold. And don't get me wrong, that still to a degree happens and it still to a degree works. But what we also find now is that actually remote selling is really prevalent, I think is the term. It's really coming into its own. You know, look, we always had remote selling. We always had, you know, digital ways of selling and communicating. I personally feel that got absolutely ramped up during COVID and the subsequent months and years after COVID. All of a sudden, those conversations that could only happen face to face were all of a sudden moving into the virtual realm. I'm good friends with an array of financial advisors, wealth advisors, people that work with money. And historically, their deals or their customers or their customer interactions would only be done face to face. People would not want to, you know, talk about their finances or talk about their futures unless it was in a face-to-face room. And yet now those meetings, because of COVID, happen over Zoom, over Teams. They happen remotely. And like I say, there are definitely pros to, remote selling, a lot of pros to remote selling when we think about it. I do feel that there is always going to be a need for face-to-face. There's always going to be a need for that human interaction. But we know that actually people want to be, or maybe want to is a strong word, I don't know, but they're more susceptible. Just as well, listener, when I record these, I'm recording them. I've been up since, I'm always up at 5. I sit down and record at approximately 7:30 in the morning. So if I do ever stumble across my words, and, to make a point, if I ever do look tired, it's probably because I am. But I think the buyer is probably a bit more understanding when it comes to buying virtually as well. But is that just my opinion? Well, as always, I've got a statistic. I've got a study from McKinsey. They say that over 70% of B2B decision makers now prefer remote human interactions or digital self-service over traditional face-to-face meetings. Let's underline that word, prefer. That's quite an interesting word there. It's not that they accept, it's actually they prefer. And actually, when we think about it, you go into any supermarket, into any store now, there's always some form of self-checkout. Once again, back in my day, you'd go to Asda and literally the whole, I don't know if you remember, it was always a sight to behold, right? It was just row upon row upon row upon row of just checkout staff, just one after the other. It was a hustle and a bustle of noise and movement. Now, there's still probably a row of those checkouts. They probably aren't always open, maybe one or two, but they try and encourage you and push you towards some form of self-checkout, self-serve. And actually, just think about this. I always find this really, confusing. Imagine going back to our grandmas, our great-grandmas and our grandfathers and saying, hey, look, next time you go into a shop, you don't even have to speak to anyone. You just put it in a basket and you scan it at the end and you pay. Or better still, you just scan as you go and pay at the end. They would find that whole thing mind-boggling, right? Because back in their day, I don't know if some of you remember, I mean, this was before my day, shops wouldn't even allow you to touch the products. You'd go into the shop, there'd be your little checkout bit, and they'd say, right, I want this, and this, and they'd hand it over to you, right? So it's funny how times change, but 70% of B2B decision makers now prefer remote human interactions. And is that because it's like the self-checkout syndrome? Is it faster, more efficient, and more flexible? And it's not that, in my opinion, that's not just about, remote video calls. It's just, I think we live in an age where when we buy anything, whether that's a B2B buyer, whether it's a B2C buyer, we want to do more research. We don't want to be pushed into situations that we don't want to be pushed into. We want to be able to have the time, the freedom, and the flexibility to do our own research and make our own plans. It allows us to build up those levels of trust and have those multiple touch points. And to some degree, it allows them allows the buyer to have that buying experience in their own ways and in their own, it's like a personalized service, isn't it? As opposed to being dictated as to what to do. So listen, as I said earlier, I believe that human-to-human selling is going to be one of the key things in 2026 and beyond. But we cannot neglect that digital selling is there, and we've got to live with it. So what tools, what can we do to enhance our ways of selling digitally and talking to our buyers in a more digital landscape? I want you to start to think about your digital selling strategies, no different to like you would a showroom. You need the showroom to look good, feel good. It needs to flow well. It needs to be clean, tidy, smell good. Your digital selling tactics and your digital selling softwares, your automations should make the buyer experience seamless, okay? Love them or hate them, love him or hate him. Jeff Bezos, I believe, and his team have done an incredible job at Amazon. And I feel that part of that reason is because the whole shopping experience is seamless, absolutely seamless. The website is good, it's fast, you can find what you need, there's plenty of options, to be fair, sometimes too many options. When you want to buy something, it's a couple of clicks, right? Lo and behold, you make those purchases, that item's there the next day, no quibbles, no problems. If there's a problem with that delivery, 9 times out of 10, you'll contact Amazon and you get a refund. Once again, no quibble, no stress. They make that whole, and I want you to really underline this in your mind, that buyer's experience so seamless. I would argue to some degree fun in comparison to other stores. Allow me to share with you an example. Recently, we myself and my partner are doing up a house, and we're going through that phase of literally having to buy everything, all the furniture, all the furnishings, all the decor. My gosh, it's a headache, right? Don't know where I was going with that, but yes, we recently bought a dressing table, or the lady bought a dressing table from I'll call them out. The shopping experience was horrendous, right? Absolutely horrendous. We needed this certain type of dressing table because it matched the wardrobe we'd got. And to buy it, the good lady had to set up a credit account, which is dodgy as fuck anyway, right? So she had to go through this rigmarole of buying it, right? It turns up, not a problem. To be fair, the delivery was all okay, not an issue, right? We started to build it. There's a piece missing, and I kid you not, this piece of wood is no smaller than the width of my forearm, and about a foot and a half long, and that part was missing. We can't build it without that part. Trying to get some form of resolution to that issue took me about, I kid you not, I was on the phone for an hour and 10 minutes. An hour and 10 minutes over a piece of wood like that. Their options were to send that product, no, beg your pardon, for me to get all the packaging back out the bin, to dismantle what I'd already built, and to put it in a box and send it back and get a refund. I said no. Their other resolution was to send out, no, not even send out, for us to buy a whole new dressing table, to take out the part we need, and then send back one of the boxes. Once again, my idea was no. My offer to them was very, very simple. Just take out one of the parts from another box, put it in a smaller box, and send it to me. It's really not hard. Anyway, without getting into the semantics, the point I'm trying to get to, the shopping experience was so bad, and even the customer service was so bad, I will never shop with them again. I never want to shop with them again, nor would I ever recommend them. And this is where the likes of Amazon do really well. Their service, their whole customer experience, their whole customer journey is flawless. So when you think about your digital selling strategies, I want you to think about, how can I really make this better? Am I sending clunky PDFs that take ages to read through and are boring and are just uninspiring? Am I having to put people through, downloading forms to then print them off, to sign them by hand and then upload them again? I want you to really analyze every part of that buyer journey and think about, how can I make this more fun, more simple, or less, less full of friction. And some of those things that you can look at are things like your CRM system. We do partner with Monday.com CRM, which we'll share a link in the comments below, but that will allow you to keep your pipeline clean, but can actually automate a lot of those mediocre tasks and those tasks that potentially stops you from actually selling, right? Video prospecting, we know, is absolutely fantastic. You right now could be watching this on YouTube. You right now could be developing a bit of a relationship with me by watching this video. Video prospecting is fantastic and once again sticks out from the crowd. Tools such as Loom are great in my opinion, because not only do they seamlessly allow you to record the video, they seamlessly allow you to send the video. You as a seller can then see when that person has viewed the video and what they've viewed and where up to and so on. So once again, you can keep on top as to how that prospect is ranking. Of course, listen, I always take a little of a negative view and approach to AI and automation. I think AI and automation is good when it saves time with tasks. I don't think AI and automation should replace any form of human interaction, because you just don't get that. But once again, something to bear in mind when it comes to the processing of orders, processing of forms, and so on and so forth. Virtual sale rooms are good, so centralized hubs for resources, demos, and proposals. And of course, look, we cannot forget, we've done whole episodes on them. Social selling is important. LinkedIn, for me as a business owner and a salesperson, has been great. Hand on heart, I've still to this day never bothered with LinkedIn Sales Navigator. I know LinkedIn Sales Navigator is bloody awesome, and I know LinkedIn Sales Navigator could be pretty cool for social selling. I've never needed it because I've encouraged different processes, different ideas to stop me having to need it. But I'm always open to differences. If you think I should be getting in LinkedIn Sales Navigator, then do drop a comment below. And of course, LinkedIn, if you are watching or listening to this, I genuinely feel I should be a LinkedIn top sales voice. So get in touch and I'm more than happy. Bang the drum for LinkedIn Sales Navigator. But just remember, we've got to make sure that digital selling, our digital buyer's journey, is as flawless as it is if someone's to walk in our showroom. If someone walks in our showroom or in our studio or in our office, we want it to look good, smell good, feel good, flow good. We want people to feel comfortable and at ease. The same should be exactly for your digital selling. And beyond that, Salesforce have come out with a study that say 84% of B2B buyers said that the experience a company provides is important as its products and services. So your digital approach is part of that experience. So I'm going to share with you in just a second sort of my top 5 tips to take into 2026 and beyond to help you really enhance, really hone down your digital selling experience. Just before we do go on, and I did allude to it earlier, we are proud to be partnered with Monday.com CRM. If you are a business owner and your CRM system currently is clunky, funky, too small, too expensive, too boring, too monotonous, and you're looking for a new solution, then Monday.com CRM is fantastic. We all know Monday.com for its intuitive and fantastic project management systems, and their CRM systems take that whole existing technology to a new level. If you do want to try Monday.com CRM as a thank you for watching or listening to the Sales Circle podcast, there will be a link in the comments or in the show notes below. Just hit that, you'll get some free access and some other goodies. Check it out for yourself and let me know what you think. So what can you do in 2026 and beyond? And better still, what can you do from tomorrow to really enhance the way that you sell remotely and the way in which your digital selling experience cuts through the noise and sells better to your customers? Well, listen, here's what's working. Video outreach. Again, I'm a big believer as salespeople, we should stand out from the crowd. Do we constantly want to do the same thing again and again and again? Do we want to constantly do the same thing that all of our competitors are doing, that everyone's doing? Or do we want to stand out from the crowd and do something that cuts through that noise and stands out? Video is a fantastic way to do that. We mentioned Loom earlier on. It's a great tool. Sometimes, we can just simplify that. Zoom is great. Even just recording straight to your phone and sending personalized messages is wicked. Now, I believe as well that, and I deal with this with a lot of people that I go in and train and I consult with, keep your demos short, man, right? People's time is valuable. Especially on the first demo call, especially on the first inquiry. People do not want to be sat through half an hour of, boredom, right? Make your demo as tailored as possible to the person that you're selling to, but secondly, keep it short. Use that first demo as a tease and a hint. If that person wants to then, invest more time, they then will. Don't forget the discovery calls now can be done digitally. Don't get wrong. I'm a big advocate. I say this a lot for human-to-human selling. But goodness, I would fit in half, maybe, 2/3 less discovery calls if I went to every single person I wanted to see and speak to. Zoom has been fantastic for me. Don't forget to follow up. Now, of course, once again, those follow-ups should be different. We don't want to just be sending emails saying, just checking in, just following up. What do you think to the proposal? Once again, can we send voice notes? Can we send videos? Can we send digital mail? Not digital mail. Can we send direct mail to cut through that noise once again? And of course, can we make that whole journey simple? Can we work collaboratively with the buyer to allow them to make those decisions? We heard a statistic earlier. Where was it? It was somewhere. 70% of B2B decision makers now prefer remote human interactions or digital self-service simply because they want that experience to be their own. So can you share your calendars, your assets, and the next steps openly so that buyer, when they're ready, they're not pushed, they're not forced to take those next steps. So we move swiftly on, simply because I've just seen the time, onto our listeners' questions of the week. So every week I ask you to write in, I ask you to email in, to comment in your burning sales questions, whether they be about tough objections you're facing, whether it be about parts of the sales process, or perhaps maybe you just want to learn a bit more about sales, then please do get in touch. You can email thesalescircleofficial@gmail.com, or you can comment anywhere on social media. One of the team will pick it up. And don't forget, you can also message me directly on LinkedIn. The first question here is from Ellie. Ellie, it looks like Bristol. Ellie says, how do I build rapport over video calls when I'm used to meeting people in person? I think what we've got to do is we've got to look at this in two ways, Ellie, right? So first of all, you've got to work really hard to build that rapport, to build those relationships. So we've got to be warm, make eye contact. Don't be afraid of small talk. One thing that I always do is I look for clues in what either the person is saying or what's behind them, because then that creates those conversational points, right? I've built great relationships with people only over video, and it just comes down to asking questions and just treating it like a real conversation. And as well, on the flip side of that, don't be afraid for you to open up. There's no harm in you opening up about your day, your week, your work, your life. Give your prospect opportunities to ask questions. And of course, another big tip is have something interesting behind you. If you ever jump on a Zoom call with me, I'm in my office and I've got an array of, some would say clutter, but others would say cool things. I've got football shirts, rugby shirts, boxing gloves, pictures of a horse I once owned shares in. What else have I got? A basketball. I've got an array of things, right, that I'm hoping that people pick up on and understand what I'm into. And then that rapport piece is built. The amount of times people go, oh, whose rugby shirt is that? Oh, that's is that the Leicester City team? They're not doing so. You find those things to talk about. So treat it no differently to a human interaction, Ellie. Callum has written in to say, what's the best way to prospect B2B clients online if I don't have a huge network? Well, listen, the key to it is start to build your network. We talk a lot on the podcast about your digital, based upon your personal brand and your digital presence. Get that LinkedIn built, connect with people. Don't forget to converse with people on LinkedIn. Yes, share content, but yes, message people as well. Even just posting every single day and sending 10 connection requests per day, within a month, you've increased your connections by 300 people, give or take, right? You'll start to then attract an audience as well. So unfortunately, it's always a tough start. It's like trying to ride a push bike uphill in a high gear, all right? But over time, that momentum builds and you'll be absolutely fine. Naomi says, is it still worth attending trade shows and expos, or should we focus only on digital? Listen, I think an omni-channel approach is incredible. It's the best way forward, right? Look, I still think there's a place for trade shows. I still think there's a place for expos. I still think there is a place for door-to-door knocking, for face-to-face selling. But we've got to remember that there's also that digital world. There's that meta world out there as well. I don't think we should just ditch one for the other. It's all about working collaboratively. It's about working in unison, being prepared for both eventualities. So absolutely, go to the trade shows, walk the floor, have a trade show, have an expo, whatever it takes, right? Because you'll find some gold dust there, as you will digitally. I hope I answered those questions well enough for you. Again, if you do want to send in a question, just email in thesalescircleofficial@gmail.com and I'll be sure to read it out. Just before we wrap up, I'm going to share with you my book recommendation of the week. This week, just because it's coming up to Christmas, I could do with some commissions. I'm going to push the latest book of mine to be published, called A Month to Improve Your Sales. This has gone on to become a great book that many business owners, entrepreneurs, salespeople have read. The idea behind this book was simple. I wrote this, I should probably know, it's 2019. It says here, March 2019. The idea with the book was simple. I believe wholeheartedly in reading for education, right? Whether you are a business owner, a marketer, a salesperson, if you want to become like the best of the best, and not even that, if you just want to become better, invest time in reading. Whenever I say that to people, the excuse is, and don't worry, I fall foul of this sometimes, is I don't have time. I just don't have the time to do it. I'm struggling. I just don't have time, blah, blah, which I hear and I understand. So what I did was I created a book in which there's 31 chapters, I think. The idea is you read one chapter every single day. Within a month, you'll have improved your sales within a month, right? So it's simple. In here is tips, news, information, ideas, theories, stories that will help you improve your sales. Whether you are a plasterer, whether you're a chef, whether you are a marketer, whether you are a salesperson, whether you're a business owner, whatever it is, if you need to sell, this book will truly help. As always, we will drop a link for you to buy your own copy in the show notes or the video description below. And that just about wraps us up for another episode of the Sales Circle podcast. I hope you've had as much fun listening or watching as I have recording. Remember, there will always be a place, right? Whilst we still have skin, whilst we still have a heart and questionably a soul, there will still be a need for face-to-face selling. People want that human interaction. People need that human interaction. However, don't be afraid of digitally selling. Don't be afraid of, utilizing your digital presence to help customers buy from you better. Don't make that experience sticky. Don't make it full of friction. Don't make it hard. Make it fun, enjoyable, gamify it, make it flawless. Make it Amazon. Think Amazon. These episodes come out every single Thursday, so I look forward to seeing you next week. And until then, all the best. Lovely. And that's it for another episode of the Sales Circle. Make sure you hit that follow button, join us over on social media, and we'll see you next week.